Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man!
All right, episode 71 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Beau from Craftworks in California. Let's go!
Hey there, Sugar Plum.
Hey, bud.
You're looking cute today.
So are you. Let's do our checks, yeah?
Oh, sure.
I like you. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it.
We got a fancy shirt on there for your anniversary today.
Yeah, it is. I'm ready. Like I'm going from here
Right.
to dinner.
Is that one of those shirts where you don't care about and the buttons are kind of like lightly sewn on? So when you get passionate later, you can fucking rip it off.
Yeah, it's actually exactly that. Yeah, I got it at Victoria's Secret.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That secret is out later.
Mm-hmm. I've got something here that's pretty exciting.
Oh, God. Dad joke button.
I'm reading a horror story in Braille. Something bad's going to happen. I can feel it.
That's
Even got a
one.
laugh in the end of it.
I know. Yeah, check it out. One more.
Can't run through a campsite. You can only ran because it's past tense.
What? I don't even get that one.
You're running past tents.
Oh, yeah.
I was in my garden and saw 10 ants running frantically. So I made them a little house out of cardboard. I guess that makes me their landlord and them my 10 ants.
The laugh at the end is the best part for me.
All right, you want one more before we turn this thing off?
All right, one more. How many are on it?
I don't know. Like it's
Infinite?
unlimited. Yeah,
It's Bluetooth, constantly updating.
Exactly. Every single dad joke ever.
I would love that.
Chris said to me, "Careful, that plate is hot." I said, "It's okay. So am I."
What? Is that real? That's not a good. That's.
I can imagine the dude in the booth recording those, and he has to do that shit laugh at the end of every single one of them.
Right. Okay. So yeah, there's that. If I ever need a, like a dad joke, you got a button.
Real quick. Yeah. You just smash that button.
Right. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Did I say Joanne got that for me? Because
No, you didn't.
I meant to say that.
Yeah.
Joanne, thank you so much. Like this thing rules. I love it.
You're supposed to have spooky dad jokes.
I know. So I have one of those. I have one of those too. But I've been hogging up all the dad jokes. So you.
No.
You
Go ahead.
You sure? I'll hit you with one. I got one.
Andy, are you today's date?
Yeah, actually. Yeah, I am.
Because you're 10-10.
That's so dumb. Although I like
10.
that 10. Yeah, that is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're 10 out of 10.
That is the exact date you need to ask that question on.
Right.
Right there. Mm.
Yeah, hit me with yours.
Hey, Dylan, what does a witch use to do her hair?
I don't know.
Scare spray, of course. that kind of like
the laugh made it for me. Yeah.
Okay. What else is going on, man? How was your week?
Week was pretty good. Solid week of printing, which was good. I ordered some new stainless steel tables for around the dryer for cleanup and squeegees and flood bars and stuff.
So what do you mean? Like rolling tables?
I didn't get wheels on them. Like we have two spots kind of at the end of the dryer because we have, press on both sides of the dryer. Near the end of the dryer, I have like wooden tables now. And they're kind of like, my dad made them. They're just like plywood tables. And now that I'm working out there, I'm noticing little things. And I'm like, man, I wish this was, stainless because then I could wipe it up easier. So I ended up ordering like 2 4-foot stainless tables that have like 2 shelves. So you can like clean squeegees and blow bars and then put stuff underneath.
Yeah. So yeah, we have that sort of thing in what we call the ink pit. And I got them from Uline, but their table cleans up really easily too.
Yeah, that's what they are.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Friday I got pizza and wings, and then Brian's wife Kristen came in, and she's an amazing cook, and she brought in cinnamon rolls. So I was like, oh, I got to eat a cinnamon roll. So I ate like a big cinnamon roll. I had pizza and wings. And then Chris brings in a box from UPS that was from Tyler from TC Screen Printing. And it was one of those Lou Malnati's like hot dog kits. So I was like, fuck, there's so much food today. So we'll probably be having hot dogs.
I remember both of us were having a challenging week. And Tyler reached out and said, hey, I want to make this better. What do you guys?
Right. Do you guys want some boiled hot dogs?
Yeah. And then we said we did, but I didn't. I'm sure mine's on the way. Like I'll get ours on Monday.
Right.
Which will be perfect.
So what I wanted to do is bastardize it and just like boil the hot dogs and not put any of the stuff on top and just put it in the roll, like a boiled hot dog in a roll.
What?
That'll be good, right?
Yeah, do that.
Right.
Sounds delicious.
Mm-hmm. And then today I went to the pumpkin farm.
Again?
Well, I went and got pumpkins on Saturday. There's like a local lady like right down the road from our house. We went and got pumpkins. And then today we woke up this morning and went to the pumpkin farm where you do like pumpkin farm shit, like hay rides and like pumpkin cannons. They have this like huge cannon that's like, I don't know, it's like CO2 powered or whatever that you can launch pumpkins. They come out so fucking fast and hard. Dude, that's so like it would kill you if you got hit by one.
Like it launches at 100 feet?
Those, those like pumpkins you can hold in your hand, like those little ones that are probably like, whatever. They like put them in this cannon and they shoot it.
That's so neat.
I got a video. Yeah, it's so awesome. And then there's a corn cannon too. It's like same thing. It's like this handheld cannon and the guy feeds in like a whole piece of corn and you could fucking launch it. And they got like targets and stuff out in the field to hit.
And it's like $10 to play or something.
It's like a ticket. Like it's like $1.25 a ticket. And I think it's like a ticket for 3 corn or 1 ticket for 1 pumpkin. What'd you do this week?
Well, besides cry a little bit, tears on the inside.
Give me the
I didn't actually cry real tears.
You just swallowed them.
Yeah, I kept them inside, bottled them up.
That's
right.
What
That's what you're supposed. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. Really, it wasn't that big of a deal. I think it just felt heavy that day. But Ryan came and he came here because I was trying to tighten up our flow, basically. And so that's not easy to do. And so there was a few speed bumps along the way. We're not done by any means, but we made some progress.
Right. He just came for the initial walkthrough.
Yeah. Which is a bit of a gut punch, because, you think you are doing a lot of stuff right. And we are. But then when, it's sort of it's difficult to be criticized.
Right. When the teacher walks in.
Right. But it's necessary. I think it was good.
Cool.
Yeah.
What else did you do this week? Because you had more weeks.
We printed some shirts a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't say.
Right. We do a little bit of that here.
You printed shirts. That sums up your week.
Yeah. And do you know
the muffin?
Have you heard of Ted Lasso?
Yes.
The show?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Stephen from Campus Inc. said, have you watched Ted Lasso? I'm like, who's that? This was a few days ago.
Yeah.
Well, I know who he is now. It's good stuff.
How far into it are you?
I would say six episodes. Season 1.
Yeah.
How about you?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard from people that I have to watch it. So
no,
what do you watch it on again? Is it on that Peacock or some shit?
I'm watching on Apple TV.
Oh, yeah, I don't have that.
So I don't have it either, but you can get it for a week for free. And I did that. And then after that, it's $4.99. So, it's basically, you can watch all of Ted Lasso's 2 seasons for $5 if you want.
I bet. I have to do it. I've heard from enough people to check it out. I might as well check it out.
It's great.
It's like everybody right now is telling you to watch that Squid Game show.
Yeah.
Have you watched any of it?
I don't even know what it is. I just hear about it. I'm like, what is that?
I see it everywhere. Yeah. I haven't watched it yet. And I have people texting me being like, hey, have you seen Squid Game? And I'm like, no. They're like, oh, just watch episode 1 because I want to send you this meme and it won't make any sense unless you watch it. I was like, okay.
What's
But
that on?
It's on Netflix, but
Okay.
I haven't checked it out yet. So we're
Okay.
out of the loop. We're old and out of the loop.
I know. I guess we do. What do? We run a t-shirt shop. That's probably most of it, isn't it?
It's the coolest thing we do.
Right. Well, hey, you want to talk about our friends, our sponsors?
Yeah, let's talk about them.
EasyWay's line of eco-friendly chemicals will get the job done faster, more efficiently, and will cost you a fraction of the cost per
Screeny.
EasyWay.
It's the easiest way.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
Don't you love how I have to read that still?
Yeah, I do.
So sad. So
I feel
sad.
like you should rewrite it and spice it up a little bit.
Well, I didn't write it in the first place. So it needs to be, it is what it is.
It's sad,
Okay,
man.
Dylan?
Second, where's your Wild Boy sticker?
I'm
It
going to
needs to be up there on your mic stand.
I didn't feel very wild today. All right. You can kind of tell my mood is a little, it's down
You're
a notch.
Still a wild boy.
I don't know
whether
if
you like
I
it or
am.
not.
I think I would be disappointed.
I'm going to make you stickers of that, but you're going to be mild boy.
I would have that hanging there right now because Mild Boy, yeah, that's my vibe right now.
Justin, we're making a new club, new clan, Mild Boys, where we don't know shit about popular culture and we just stress out and run our screen printing business. Hashtag Mild Boys.
Then go home, go to bed, wait for tomorrow.
Go home, go to bed, wait for tomorrow. Right.
Looky what I got.
Ooh, fancy. You ready? Oh yeah. Quivering. Nice.
Pinky? That's weird.
No, bring it in. We'll put a pinky in the hole, okay?
Frank.
You know, it was one of the best things I've seen. A lot of people send us all the time. Like we see them ordering screens and they get Frank, or they, do something with Frank, or get this sweet hot dog thing that says Frank on it. But it was funny how we had Eric from Night Owls on the show and we asked him about screens. Remember? We asked him what was better. Like, I don't remember what I was looking into. Oh, I was looking into
Sherlock's maybe?
at the time, like way back when we had him on. And then we were talking about Frank's, and then he was talking about how he used Newman rollers, and he was talking about how they were so good or whatever. Did you see the other day that he got rid of and sold all of his Newmans? And then he had like 4 huge pallets of screens from Frank.
I saw all those pallets from Frank, but I didn't know he got rid of the Newmans.
Well, he made a post earlier that said that like he was selling Newman frames.
Okay.
So
I didn't see
that's
that
a testament right there that our buddy Eric
knew. I think he
knew
used to use statics, and I think they were from Frank even, and then he switched to rollers, and then for some reason
realized how good.
I think probably we're having an influence on him, and he probably bought like a couple pallets of tape too. He loves tape. You know what?
He probably used the discount code is what he did.
Right.
You mentioned Shirt Show.
Exactly.
And got what, 5% off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good job, Eric. Thanks, bud.
We love you, man.
But if you want to check Frank out, or we should say Graphic Screen Fashion, you can go to graphicscreenfashion.com, or you could go to
rank.com.
There's one more way to get there too, Dylan. What's that?
You could go to greatfuckingscreens.com.
Right. That's the preferred method.
Right. The ideal one. That's the one that's getting, all the Google trackage.
Yeah. Trackage?
Yeah, trackage. Yeah.
Traffic, maybe? Traffic.
No, trackage.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That Google trackage.
Right.
Action Engineering.
Action.
So Action Engineering makes the accessories printers need, like the squeegee roller. Now it's your turn.
Well, dude, there's so many things. They make fucking all the pallets ever that you would need.
There's like so many things. They make fucking they make that thing.
I should have listed stuff that they don't make.
Right.
Right. No, but they make like for every manufacturer, basically squeegees and flood bars. They make pallets for almost every manufacturer. They make all kinds of organizational things for your press.
Yeah. Okay. Enough already.
Whatever.
Not so many. Okay. Good job. Hey, go check out actionengineering.com. When you buy one of those things and you have it in your cart at checkout, enter
Mild Boys.
and get 15% off.
Right.
Mhm.
And by Mild Boys, I mean Church Show.
Yeah. They should actually make two codes. Like Mild Boys should be 10% off because it's just kind of
Right. It's mild.
not as hot. Yeah.
Right.
Not as wild.
Mhm.
Okay. So our next sponsor is Monarch.
I love Monarch. We just got in like 6 pails of Yeti LB.
When you say pail, do you mean
5 gallon.
a fiver? Okay.
A fiver. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I don't get the drums just because I don't like the idea of the pump and crawling into a drum to get the ink out. I like just getting fives.
Check this out. You can order a drum made out of cardboard, which is great, first of all, because it's not plastic, right? Cardboard. You dig in, which is really easy until you get halfway down, and then you get your Sawzall, cut that fucker in half.
Or you get fives and you crack open a beautiful fresh 5, put it on a turnabout so it's beautiful and creamy all day long. And then when it's done, you put a new 5 on and you
How is that 5? How is that 5 more beautiful and more fresh?
Because I can see it spinning. It's like going to a bakery and seeing the dough spinner thing.
Super hard to dig out of a pail and put it into the 5 that's already on the turnabout. But
that's an extra step.
Whatever. Is it? Because it's kind of hard pulling the 5 off the turnabout to put a new 5 on the turnabout. You know what?
You're a weakling. You can't lift an empty 5 gallon bucket.
Hard. I didn't say heavy. There's a difference between the
I didn't ask
heavy
if you
and
were
hard.
hard. I asked if you couldn't get the 5 gallon off the
Are you
turnabout.
sure? Because I usually do ask that. Maybe I'm confused because I'm just so used to you. I'm so used to you asking that.
So
ink better,
Monarch.
ink better, print better, be better.
Live Moss.
Monarch. Beautiful. So good. Do you remember, I don't know if you ever did this, but in high school when you went to dances, did you ever joke?
I would love to hear how you're about to, where this story is going.
I was just going to joke about how, do you ever prank your dates or whatever and act like you're going to Taco Bell or something?
No.
You know, like you're in a tux and all that.
I definitely didn't wear a tux to the dance.
You definitely did. I mean, that's what people do. You have to.
I remember I snuck into a school dance once through the bathroom window.
That's really.
I think I had like detention that day, and if you have detention, you're not allowed to go. And I crawled through someone let me through the window in the bathroom, the guy's bathroom.
And then
I went to that fucking middle school dance anyway, like a badass.
That is. And you probably broke some glass bottles on them.
Yeah.
Like somewhere.
They were probably playing like 6 songs by like TLC and Limp Bizkit. I had to be there.
Cool.
So I could talk to everybody on AIM about it afterwards.
Oh, you had FOMO.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why you went.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
Right.
See, I learned what that means.
Right. Are you all ready for Print Hustlers in a week and a half, basically?
I guess. I mean, yeah. Are you?
I guess.
What is that? What do I have to do to get ready? I got to get a petty, a mani and a petty.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Show off them toes.
Mm-hmm. I might go to Walmart real quick and take a nap. Parking lot.
Weird. Okay. Whatever you want. I mean, the Walmart's like right around the corner.
Yeah.
I remember because I pooped there.
Did you really? Why didn't you poop here?
Because I didn't want to poop at your work.
Destroy our bathroom.
Yeah, I fucking left there, walked to Walmart, took a shit and walked back. It's probably like 2 years ago.
You're super wrong. Oh my God. 2 years ago? That would have been 2019 pre-COVID. It's okay, Dylan. Time is a construct. Like 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 3 years ago, doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah. It was just
some time ago, many moons ago.
Yeah.
Right.
that you came here, and we sat by a fire, and then we all shared a blanket.
I think I
Cozied
just
up.
need to fly out for a weekend anyway, just to hang out.
I know. And I need to come there too. I've never been invited up there. I won't say anything for a minute and you can invite me. Okay. So here.
You could come up and then we could hang out here for a day, and then we could go to the Finger Lakes and get wine, and then we could keep driving and go to Buffalo and see Niagara Falls.
That sounds lovely. I accept.
Okay.
But why would you mention getting wine since you don't drink wine?
I drink wine. I could drink some wine. We could go grape picking, see some wineries, and then we'll just keep driving. We'll go see Tony in Rochester. Can
we stomp on some grapes, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can reenact that YouTube video where that lady's like,
yeah. And you're right. Yeah, we could go see tiny fish and get some wings.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like hell of a trip.
Well, this episode is going to be short because it is 4:18 and we've got an hour and 40 minutes left at this point. I'm going to message him. He might be having technical difficulties. Okay. So I said, "You ready?" He said, "Yep." Okay. You ready? Need to stretch? Here you go.
All stretched up.
Get some oxygen up in that brain. The whole tongue thing is wrong. Like, don't do that because that blocks the
you
air.
asked to stretch.
Blocks the
We're
way
doing
you
a podcast. I have to stretch the muscle that is used.
Oh, well, that makes sense. I didn't know that's what that was. I don't want to look at that because you can't unsee it. Don't do that anymore. Like turn around.
You like it better side to side or up and down?
I like circles.
Can your tongue touch your nose?
I'm not falling for that shit.
I'm not even close.
I'm not watching.
Why?
Gross. So I couldn't do it. I started to and I had to stop. Here, do it right now. Yeah, keep doing it. Keep doing it. He signs off immediately.
We'll know if he's true if he stays. What's up, dude?
Nothing much. How you guys doing?
What do you got behind you?
Okay, so this is my mom's painting.
Oh.
And she just painted this probably, 2 months ago. And I told her, I was like, hey, I need that painting. I'm doing a podcast on Sunday. Can I come pick that from you? So I came, picked it up.
So where was it? Was it in her home?
Yeah. So when I started screen printing, I was in my parents' garage and I eventually outgrew that. And during COVID, she decided, so she was painting our backyard and made a mess of our whole backyard with paint and things everywhere. So she moved her whole entire little paint studio into my old little print shop.
Right.
So now it's a whole little art studio with paint.
That's awesome.
Everywhere.
Seems like only in California can you have a paint studio outside, like all year round, probably.
Oh yeah, no, totally. She'll sit out there and paint, and she's kind of a night person, so she'll sit out there all night and paint and with a nice glass of wine and do her painting. It's her
awesome.
It's her escape from all the stuff she has to deal with. Yeah, she loves it.
So what else is in that office? Because if you didn't have that there, you would be just like white walling it.
Yeah. So that's the other. So my office is my office / showroom. And it's probably, if I had to guess, probably 30 feet wide by 20 feet, I want to say.
That's a big office.
Well, that's the only thing I have here. So that's just me, a showroom, and then a warehouse. And when I first moved into the space, it was kind of a shithole. The carpet was disgusting. The walls were disgusting. So me and my dad came in, painted all the walls, put in fake laminate wood, did the baseboards, painted everything, hung racks, just so I could show product. And because before, I'm sure, Andy, you started in your garage from what I understand, but customers would always want to come over and say, hey, let me come look at your stuff. Let's have a meeting, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, great. They want to come to my parents' garage and I'm going to show them shirt samples and hats and whatever. So I'd oftentimes make an excuse and say, oh, let me just come to you. I'll bring some samples, or let's meet at Starbucks or whatever.
That's what I was going to say. As most of the time, I did exactly that. We would meet them, just because we didn't want people coming. We didn't advertise that we were out of our house. And so I always thought back then anyway, that they wouldn't come to me then. Like they wouldn't place their order. They would say, oh, we don't want some dude out of his garage doing it. That's what I thought. But I was wrong really, as it turns out, because eventually we just got so busy and I said, fuck it. And people started stopping by, and which was great because then you don't have to drive to them, which takes time. Right. And it's great they're coming over, but then they come over all the time.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. I would, even big customers in the beginning, like you said, I'd be like, no, can't come here. Let me just deliver to you. And my dad one time was like, why the hell are you delivering all these boxes? That's taking you half hour to go there, half hour back. You get stuck talking to the customer. That's an hour and a half of your time. And he said, make them come pick up or charge a delivery fee. And I said, well, I don't want them to come to the house. And he was saying, it's not the end of the world if they know you're in your garage, if you're putting out good quality work. It's not that big of a deal. And that's what I would do. I'd just have people come to the house, pick it up, give it to them. They said, oh, you're out of your garage. This is so cool. I'm so happy to support a small little business.
Right.
So it did take some time for me to realize that and not be scared or embarrassed. Oh, I'm in a little garage. But it was it was fun and not fun, I guess, printing in the garage. Some days absolutely sucked because it was so small. And I did everything in that garage, exposed screens, washout screens. I had a dryer in there, all my ink, everything. And it was a little one car garage. It was tiny, but I made it work for.
That was pretty much our first place too. I say it was a sign shop, but it was really a 2-car garage. But like the garage on the left, there was like a wall dividing both garages. It wasn't like one open room. So the room on the left was where we printed, but it was like super cramped. Like there was already a corner because it was a sign shop that was like, I don't know, maybe like 4 feet by like 2 feet that he had like a homemade washout thing in. So we clean screens in that, which was like this terrifying murder shed. And then our single manual and small dryer were in that other room. Is also like inks and like a computer and like one tiny rack to put shirts on. And it was like way too small.
Yeah. And no, I totally get that. I had a back door that led to my parents' backyard. In a shop right by my new shop now, was getting rid of a bunch of ink. It's a massive shop. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're called Quick Turn Screen Printing. They're 410 or Placentia, big shop.
Yeah.
And he actually helped me get started. And one day he called me and said, hey, I have a bunch of ink. Bring my night crew a case of Monsters and you can take as much ink as you want until the night crew's done. And I said, oh, fuck yeah, game on. So I got my pickup truck and went there after work. And I probably picked up 25, 50 gallons of just ink, every single color, a couple gallons of white. And I think I did the math and it was like $3,000, $5,000 worth of ink. And
now, were they getting rid of it because they got a new system or?
At the time they were, don't quote me on it, but I think at the time they were doing a lot of like Disneyland merch, Target merch, all those big box stores printing. They're doing a lot of kid stuff. So they had to use a special ink that wouldn't affect little kids.
Right. It was probably all phthalate free stuff.
Yeah. And that's what I asked. I said, why are you getting rid of it? And that I believe is what he said. And I said, well, what about me? And he said, well, it's not that big of an issue because you're just printing for someone's construction company or whatever. I wasn't that big at the time. But yeah, he gave me tons and tons of free ink. And even one of my first, what I thought was a big job was like 100 pieces, 1 color front, 1 color back. I said, oh, no problem. It's due in 2 days. I'll have it done in a day. Not a problem. So I coat the screens, let them dry, go to expose them. And I was probably printing for maybe 2 weeks and kind of gotten it down, but not really. And the screens wouldn't expose whatsoever. I only had maybe 5-10 screens. So I called them up one day and I said, hey, this is my issue. I have coated screens. I have the film. Can you expose everything for me and I'll pay you whatever. So I brought him the screens. He ripped off the emulsion, put new emulsion on, threw it in his drying rack, exposed it, had them ready to go. And 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And that to me was a huge, huge eye opener. I was in shock. I was like, that would take me a day to figure out how to do. But yeah, he's an awesome dude. He sends me quite a bit of work. They just got the new digital squeegee. What is it? Maverick, I think. I think that's what it's called.
I think they got a Maverick. Yeah. The Maverick is all digital. It's just a digital machine.
It's like a DTG machine, but
so they have
steroids.
that. Yeah, they have that, and then the other one that goes actually on press.
The digital squeegee.
Yeah, and when he got that, he's like, "Come by, check it out." And I mean, that thing is nuts.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah. But
I have a similar deal when I was out of my garage, and I didn't have a door though going to the backyard, and I needed more space, and so I bought a shed. And my idea is I'll put some stuff out, store some stuff in the shed. And so I cut a hole in the back of our garage, and I was pretty sure like it would have been like just perfect, like ground level. Right. Mm-hmm. But we cut the hole out, and it turns out it was like, I had to step over like this 2-foot foundation wall that I didn't want to cut. So in other words, every time I went to the shed, which was a lot, I had to step over this giant wall. So it wasn't so great. And I actually ended up putting a press out in that shed and would print out there. And true story, I would hand my son, who was like 7 at the time, because I didn't want to, if I was printing 60 shirts or whatever, I didn't want to step over the thing all the time. So he would stand on the other side in the garage, and I would hand him the shirt, and then he would put it on the dryer.
Why did you have, was it a second press?
Yeah, I got a second manual because, it was out of a garage, and I was starting to run. I had more work than one manual. And so I was like, I'll get another manual.
Did you have an employee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't know you had an employee when you were in the garage.
I did. Yeah. It wasn't ever, I suppose it was maybe close to full time, but I had a couple of part times.
So he was printing in the garage, and you were in the creepy shed in the backyard.
Yeah. And then I got the auto and put it in my garage, sold a manual, and then kept that one manual out in the shed, and would literally print sometimes, like if there was snow out there, it didn't matter, because you had a manual job or whatever to do.
Yeah.
But things we do.
Yeah. Garage days are good. I remember the first big rain we had. I walked out into my garage shop, and the whole thing was flooded, probably an inch of water in the garage, because my garage door, actually the back door, I had kind of taken the door off, and there was a little seal at the bottom. I just ripped everything out so I could bring in water, and I didn't even think of it, but it rained, and the whole garage flooded. I had boxes in there soaking wet, shirts soaking wet, and I was like, this is not a good place to print. And I even have one day, I can remember I was printing, and it smelled horrible in there, and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from, what it was.
It was just mildew?
No. So a bird flew into the garage when I wasn't in there, landed in one of the gallons of ink that was tucked away that I wasn't using, and it got stuck and eventually died in there. And it just rotted away, and the whole place just stunk. It was horrible.
Dude, we had literally that exact same thing probably like 3 months ago. Like a bird flew in, landed, and I don't know how either, because it had a lid on it. Like it must have been like the lid came up a little bit, or it like got near the cup and kind of like crawled into the cup, like opened it or something. But we went out to grab an ink for a job and opened it up, and there was like a half decayed bird in the cup of ink.
Yeah.
It was like gold ink, and I have a picture of it too. And it's like, it was gross as fuck looking. Like it's super not ideal.
That'd be a horrible way to die, right?
I know. Like the thing is, it's just like a tar pit. It's like totally stuck. Like couldn't get out. Like, I don't understand how we didn't like hear it. You know what I mean? Unless it like dove under and then came up and then was just covered.
Had a mouthful of plastisol.
Oh God, this had to be so bad. I felt so bad for it. Just like thinking about it.
It's a terrible way to go.
Yeah. So I want to go back to, you said you left the garage and went to the new place, and you saying your dad helped you like fix up the new place. Isn't it amazing to have like fixer dad?
Yeah. So my dad and my grandpa both very handy, and my grandpa is do it yourself. Don't hire somebody else. Just do it yourself. And which makes sense, but sometimes it just makes sense to pay someone to get it done. That way you're not wasting your time doing it. But yeah, no, my dad's very handy. And he helped me in the back of my shop. Before I moved in, there was a huge piece of machinery that went up to the roof line, and then they built an additional like 10 feet up into the building to put this huge machinery in there. And where I decided to put my press, there's a huge hole in the roof. So we had to bring in a huge 4x4 cross beam so I can mount my air lines and electrical. That way it wasn't on the ground. And I told him, I said, I don't know how we're going to do this. And he said, well, let's go to Home Depot. We'll get a 4x4. We'll get 2 forklifts. And thankfully, my next door neighbor does forklift repairs. So we borrowed 2 forklifts. And I had a couple buddies help, and we lifted him. We put a pallet on the edge of the forks and lifted him to the very top. He drilled it into the roof, and then we carried it over to the other side, drilled it in, and then that's how we were able to drop all our lines. I wouldn't have thought of that if it weren't for him. So thank you, Dad. But yeah, he's very handy and has a bunch of good ideas. And yeah, he helped me do my whole showroom. Him and my mom, I guess, totally helped me.
Yeah, I don't know, years and years ago now, probably when we first started, like would always ask my dad to help because my dad is like an ultimate handyman. Like he knows how to do everything. And then I kind of felt guilty about it, like after like a year or two, because I constantly have a list. Like I even have a list on my desk right now that's probably a full page long. That's just like shit I need done that like I'll have my dad do. Like pretty much I should, but I just have my dad on payroll basically. Like he's here almost every single day, like doing some kind of project, like fixing the building or building
digitizing
something, a car. Yeah. Yelling at my mom while she's doing digitizing. Just like anything around the shop. And it's crazy. Like I just basically, like I said, I started paying him. Like if he does handyman like services for like anyone around here, like if somebody's like, I want a deck built, he charges like whatever, like whatever he normally charges. I pay him a lot more than that. I'm just like, no, Dad's doing it. And it's awesome to be able to be like my retired dad, like it's basically a full paycheck from me just doing shit around the shop. And it's awesome too, because if you think of something, you know, like if you were anyone else and you were like, oh, it'd be really nice to have this done in the shop, but then you have to like hire an electrician or hire a carpenter, or you'll just eventually get to it. I can just call my dad on Sunday and be like, hey, you free this week? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I need this built. Yeah. And then he just like does it. It's so rad.
Me and my dad, because originally in my shop, it's just basically a long rectangle, I guess. It's like, yeah, it's basically a long rectangle. And at first I was like, oh, let's have my new exposure unit and everything just be out in the open. And then my rep who was selling me all my equipment and helped me set up, she said, no, you need to enclose all this. And I thought, oh, I'll just get an easy up and hang some stuff on the sides and we'll call it a day. And my dad growing up, he did built homes with my grandpa. And he's like, no, we'll build a super good structure. We'll build a little room. And this thing's freaking rock solid. If code enforcement came in here and wanted to earthquake test it or whatever, this thing ain't going nowhere. It's bolted to the floor. It's got everything and more you could want. It's way overbuilt, but the thing's not going anywhere, and I can store so much stuff on top. Because I personally probably wouldn't take the time to build something like that. I'd take the time to do something business related to bring in more work. But he's like, no, we'll knock it out on a Sunday and we'll get all the stuff and do it. And that's what we did. We knocked it out on a Sunday in probably 6 hours, I want to say. And now it's just super nice. It's there. There's no outside elements coming in, and it just makes more sense.
It's nice to keep it climate controlled. You know what I mean? Like if having a solid room that's insulated, you can have better screens because it's all climate controlled.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that is very nice to have someone that can help you do everything, because I can't do it all.
I've seen a lot of like different dark rooms. Like I've seen people hang like black plastic from the ceiling, like, and make a dark room. I've seen people like just make a wooden structure dark room. I went to Second City and they have these amazing, like futuristic, like automatic doors where you go up to it and the light turns green and the door rolls up and you get to go in. Like that was one of the coolest entrances to a dark room I've ever seen. Yeah. I've seen people get those like carports, you know how you can get like I don't know, you go to Harbor Freight or whatever, or some other place and get those like aluminum frame. And then you put like the kind of the tarp zip up thing over it. Like people have those in their building because then they can move it if they need to, if you just have a giant rectangle warehouse, you can actually move it if you need to move it. Mm-hmm. Like if you buy another press or something. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, having like a solid room is nice.
Yeah. I have a friend, when I was doing all my plumbing, I was talking to other shops and they're saying, oh, it costs about this much to your plumbing. And I was like, that's a lot of money. I've already spent so much money in a new press and a new exposure unit and an air compressor. And so I had a buddy that did all my plumbing, and it probably took us 3 Sundays all day of work. I paid for all the material and just paid him $100 a day. And he did everything for me. He did all my water, all our airlines, everything. And I had no clue how I was going to pump my washout to the other side of the building because I share the building with another company. And at the time he's like, well, we can cut the concrete out and lay a pipe down. That's going to be about 10 grand. And I said, yeah, I don't have an extra 10 grand just laying that around for plumbing. And after probably a couple hours of thinking and going back and forth, we decided to we put a pump in from so the water drains and gets cleaned. And then it gets pumped from there into a big holding tank, and that pumps it straight up and over the whole entire building and then into a drain. And that was like maybe $200 in material versus $10,000 in cutting concrete. So finding friends and people that are in that industry that know what they're doing and know how to do it. Like we had a leak with one of our pumps, or one of the pumps went out, and we needed a new tank as well. And I called him up. I said, hey, I need this done. I know you're busy, but please just come and take care of it. He's like, okay, yeah, I'll be there later today.
Yeah. I've seen people in the city that have to, they have like those big water holding tanks, and they'll fill like 3 or 4 of them, whatever, during a week. And then they have a company come out, just like you have a garbage company, and they pump all the water out of the tanks, and then you start all over.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, having people that know what they're doing and you can kind of reach out to and help you out is
it's huge. Yeah, for sure.
Even all my electrical was just a friend that's been in my circle for a while. He's an older dude, and we traded t-shirts for electrical work, and he's great. He's wired the press, put outlets throughout the whole shop. He's coming in tomorrow actually to do LED lights because the lighting back there right now is absolutely sucks.
Isn't that the greatest that we are in an industry that almost all companies need, and you can trade for just about anything?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Andy, have you ever traded like a bunch of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I like to, sometimes I don't, because I've done some trades where like I don't need anything from them. They've asked me, they're in getting shirts or whatever, and they're like, hey, I'll trade you for some services. And I'm like, okay. And I did it. And then I didn't really use their thing for a year, Yeah. So it was easy. It would have been easier for me to just run it through. But you're right. Like if you're trying to get something done. So whenever I need something here done, I always call a customer of a client of ours, like if it's a plumber or whatever.
Right.
Just because I'd like to use the people that use us for sure. But before you were in this shop and before you were in the garage, what made you want to start a t-shirt shop besides just being crazy? How did you get started?
So when I was a sophomore in high school, I started a little clothing brand, and I did that for, I don't know, maybe 2 years. And in those 2 years, I'd go to shops and say, hey, and it was nothing crazy. It was 24 shirts here, 36 shirts here, whatever. So I'd go to them, do my order, pay, and they would say, okay, yeah, 1 week turnaround time. All right, perfect. Well, a week would go by. I said, hey, when are the shirts can be done? Like, I'll give us another week. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'm small. I get it, whatever. Another week would go by, and okay, we need another 5 days to get your shirts done. I was like, okay, that's ridiculous. It's 24 shirts, 1 color front, 1 color back. Like, that's easy. To me, I had no idea what I was talking about at the time, but I was like, this has to be pretty easy to do. So going back and forth with just dealing with that nonsense. I guess it was after high school, I brokered a tiny bit in high school, not much, just kind of getting my feet wet, trying to figure it out. But I actually started the company with an ex-girlfriend, and we did it for
Solid choice.
Yeah, no, it was a great choice at the time. I thought, oh, it's be perfect, but no, it ended up coming back and kicking me in the butt. But
Weird.
yeah, I know, very weird. But at the time I was like, oh, this would be perfect. We were printing for sororities, fraternities, family, friends, businesses, this, that, and the other. And I mean, we were making good money and it was fun and easy. And then eventually just dwindled out and I bought her out and stayed in the parents' garage doing it. But yeah, the first press we bought was a 6-color 4-station Renar, however the heck you say that. It came with a dryer, a little exposure unit from Ryanette, and then just this piece of shit flash unit. And the flash unit maybe lasted 6 months and it just fried up and I just had to throw it away. But that's what we started with. And it was, I think, $4,000 for everything. And I mean, a couple of jobs paid for it.
That's what's crazy about this industry is you can be like, oh, I want to be in the screen printing business. And you're like, here's $4,000.
Yeah. It's good and it's bad because anyone can, for the most part, get into the business you could have an automated shop for $50,000 and be off to the races, which brings in a lot of bad, because you get a lot of just people that'll print for pennies or quarters and won't put out good quality work. And then there's other print shops that invest all this time and money and charge a little bit more. And that's like go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, which is funny. Well, it's not really funny, but like when COVID happened, that's kind of what, like a lot of those shops that came in small and just tried to be cheap and everything else, like they kind of a lot of them went away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they were too in over their heads with stuff and they didn't last. Yeah,
no, it's true. And there's probably, that's my biggest, I guess I could say, struggle right now is there's on my way home from work, I probably passed 4 print shops, maybe 5. 2 of them are way out of my league. They're like 7, 8 auto shops. So,
well, you said you have Quick Turn there. So
yeah, but I mean, I'm not competing with him.
Right.
They're massive. But there are a lot of smaller shops, 1 and 2 auto shops. A couple of them are a little bit bigger. But there's a lot of competition in this area, which kind of sucks. But I mean, it is what it is.
Well, what are you doing that kind of separates you from them? Like, are you trying to do anything different from them as an offering or
better turnaround times, better communication, customer service, just little things like that. I've seen, like, I had a guy come in Thursday last week, and he said, "Hey, I just got 144 shirts done at this other shop down the street and they won't print my neck labels." I said, "Okay, bring it down. I'll get it done." He needed it done by Friday for an event on Saturday to sell the shirts. And I kind of knew the guy. And he knew I had a little shop and he came and he's like, "Yeah, this other shop, it's always, oh, next week. And they never get anything done on time. And it's just always a hassle." And I said, "Bring me your stuff. I'll be completely honest with you and transparent. If I can get it done, I'll do it. If I can't, I'll tell you I can't do it." I took him back in the shop and he used to manage a big shop. So he understands the print industry. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Look, I have an 8-color 10-station press. For the most part, most of the time, the color count that we can do is about 6 colors. I said anything over that is just way too much unless we're printing on white shirts or doing wet on wet." Mm-hmm. So he's like, "Yeah, okay, that sounds good. You seem like you know what you're doing." And he said, what was it, yesterday? He said he's going to start sending all of his work here and see how it goes because he's just sick and tired of other shops just beating him around and not doing what they're going to say they do.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of competition, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Are you trying to do anything online or is it all trying to be local?
So I don't really run any ads. Everything's just referrals, local work. I do ship out of state for a couple customers. But most people just find us on Instagram, all social media, referrals. And then, I DM and email a bunch of people every week just to reach out and see who needs work.
That's more what I was wondering.
Yeah.
So you're in your garage, you have a manual. Mm-hmm. And it must have been that you got enough. 1 or 2 reasons you get an auto is that you can't keep up with a manual and you need an auto, like an automatic press, or you're just, your arms are killing you. and you get an automatic press. And so was it, or sometimes I guess it's both of those things. And so what was it for you?
I'd say it was a little bit of everything. One thing that I told myself, I said, I'm never going to really grow or get bigger unless I move into a legit location, have a good showroom, and get an automatic press. That way I can do those bigger jobs and have them not take 2-3 days to print 400 shirts. Because like I remember I printed a breast cancer awareness shirt, and it was like 400, 500 shirts. It probably took me realistically probably 2 days to do. It was all by myself, printing the front, printing the back, grabbing out of the box, folding them, separating them, everything. And I just figured, if I can afford the press and afford all the things that go with it, I might as well try it and see what happens. And so that's what I did, and that's where I'm at now, and I don't regret it. It definitely was very scary cutting that check and paying for it all. But I'm looking back at it now. I never touch my manual press unless it absolutely has to be used. I have one guy that's on there basically full time that just prints everything under 50 pieces. But now when I look at the manual and the auto, I said, why the heck didn't I do this sooner? Even 24 shirts, I'm like, I'm not going to touch the manual. It's just throw this on the auto. It'll be done in an hour, if that.
We would do that. We'll do that now with like 2 shirts.
Really?
Like if we have to throw something back up to like print it because something got messed up, it's like, oh, let's just throw it on out. Like, It's just once you're so used to it, you don't want to like hop over to the manual and be like, oh, let me register this and everything. It's just.
Yeah, if it's me printing, I try never to touch the auto. It print neck labels on I won't touch the manual. I'll print neck labels on there because it's easy. But just like Friday, it was a 40-piece job front and back. And my guy was on the manual printing those neck labels, and I had the 40-piece job done by probably halfway when he was went on the neck label job. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking to myself, if I threw this on the manual, it would take, I don't know, an hour and a half to do fronts, grab them all, switch the screens over, do the backs. So just having that as a tool to use is, or I thought at the time it would be very smart to just go out and buy it. Because every now and again, big orders do come through here, and I can't imagine printing that on the manual, and nor would I want my guys to print that on the manual. I'd just be horrible. But it does get used for smaller jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how long were you in the garage until you decided you wanted the new place?
Maybe like 3 years. I'd say 3-4 years. Yeah.
And then you were like, I got to get out of here, went to the new place. And how long have you been in the new place?
So I moved in 2 months before COVID. And I had everything up and running probably a month before COVID, and ran production for 2 weeks. And then there's nothing. Because I do a lot of schools and brands, construction companies, gyms, and everything just shut down. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
were you freaking out?
Of course, yeah. Spent $60,000 on equipment and had to pay for it. Right. So yeah, I was tripping out, and I mean, I made all this huge purchase and had this grand idea of having a big print shop. So yeah, it sucked, but thankfully I had a vendor call me probably like 2-3 weeks into COVID. And he's like, hey, do you need any hand sanitizer? And I said, no, I don't need any hand sanitizer. And my dad called me and he said, hey, I need hand sanitizer for my work. Do you know where I could get some? I was like, oh yeah, I know a place. So I went, bought a case, gave him whatever he needed. And then I was doing a bunch of research, and you couldn't get hand sanitizer anywhere. And I just posted on social media and I said, hey, if anyone needs hand sanitizer, I have it, whatever. And I was selling it for like $2 more than I bought it, just to help out and pay for my time. Sold the rest of it out in probably an hour. And I was like, maybe there's a need for all this stuff right now. And sure enough, there was. I reached out to my vendor. I said, what do you have? And he had hand sanitizer, gloves, every type of face mask.
Now, where did this guy get it from? Was he creeping it in his garage or what?
No, he had like a 5,000 square foot warehouse full of it that he was importing it all in from China and doing a lot of it. All the hand sanitizers, all local, but everything else was getting imported from China. But So he told me everything he had. I grabbed one of everything and made like an email campaign, emailed it out to all my printing customers. And then I have another business and I emailed it out to all of them. And for probably about 2.5 months, it was nothing but selling all this PPE stuff. I had people showing up at the shop, just paying I wasn't overcharging them. Like I said, I was probably making $2-3 on average of what I paid, or on top of what I paid.
For what, like a handheld bottle?
Yeah. So they came in 8 ounces and I think 12. And some companies at a time would buy anything between 2,000 to 6,000 hand sanitizers at a time.
Dang.
But yeah, it was nuts. People just show up here with cash, cards, checks, begging for it. And I did that for probably a good 2.5 months. And that really helped with paying bills and just making some money.
Now, you mentioned you had another business too. What was that?
Yeah, so it's super random, but it's a trailer rental company. It's kind of like U-Haul, but they're a little bit bigger trailers and a little bit more heavy duty. And I started that when I was probably senior in high school.
Really?
Yeah, and I just started it with one of our trailers that we used as a family to go off-roading. And it was just sitting there, and I told my dad, I said, hey, I'm going to start renting this thing out. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, you can rent it out for $40-$50 a day. And he's a lawyer, and he drafted up a contract. And he said, okay, try it, see what happens. First 2 weekends, I think I made $150 each weekend by renting a trailer out for.
So just like a regular, like a car trailer or like an fully enclosed trailer, or what is it?
Yeah, so all of them, 7 of them are all just flatbed trailers. You can put cars, off-road stuff on there, equipment, whatever. And then 2 of them are hydraulic dump trailers. We can throw all your trash in there, press a button, and it dumps. But yeah, I started that then. And that's another reason why I moved, is because I was running the trailer business out of my parents' house, the printing company out of my parents' house. And big holiday weekends, I'd have 3-4 trailers up the street and boxes outside trying to rent trailers, and just do everything was a mess.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
and
the trailer thing, you said you started in high school. You bought one. Did you just get enough profit from that one to buy another trailer? And then. Yeah.
So the first one I got was my dad's. And I just rented it. And I finally needed more. And I said, hey, I'm going to sell your trailer. I'll give you what it's worth, because he wasn't using it at the time. So I paid him for what I sold it for, and then just kept buying more off Craigslist, or friends that I knew had them that wanted to sell them. So I'd try to buy them really cheap and fix them up, put new tires on them, redo the brakes, the bearings, lights, paint them, make them look nice.
It's funny that you took something that wasn't yours, your dad's, and you're like, I'm going to start renting this out.
Yeah. No, thankfully, he let me do that, and he's very nice for doing that. But yeah, that's what got me started. And
you learned, I mean, you're 17 or 18, right? You said you're a senior in high school.
Yeah, I was 18.
And if my kid said, Dad, like I want to rent something out that we have, I mean, that's you probably learned a lot, a crash course of how to run a business just out of renting these trailers, right? I'm sure there were some good days and bad days and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. I've seen everything. I've had everything happen. Car accidents, people clipping semi trucks, tire blowouts, bearings seizing, everything. It's a good business for the most part. But every now and again, you get those customers, even in screen printing, that are just absolute headaches. And no matter what you do for them, it's always your fault.
Do you ever get it back where it's like super beat to shit, or they super abused it?
Yes. Yeah. I have the worst probably ever was a guy needed it for, I think 3 days, 2 or 3 days. I charged him, or actually, sorry, he needed it for 5 days. I only charged him for 2 to 3 days, just because felt like being nice. He over rented by 2.5 weeks, never responded, never texted, nothing. Dropped it off in the middle of the night in front of my house with the whole thing just beat to hell. Missing tire, axles bent, lights blown to pieces. Absolutely destroyed. So I sent him a lead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you do in that case? Like, do you have it like a day over, you keep it, it's this much, and another day it's this much? And
his dad's an attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had him draft me up a letter to take him to small claims. And And at the time, so we did that. We sent it to him. It got sent back, as in it like didn't get opened, but we totally saw it was opened and looked like it had been disheveled. They sent it back, and at the time, my dad was in the middle of moving his current business into a new building, and he said, "Look, I don't have time to go to small claims court with you. Just bite it and deal with it and move on." And I think the total repairs were like $1,500, $2,000, and he said, "If that's gonna make you go out of business, maybe you shouldn't do this. Just deal with it and move on and learn from it." And that's what I did. And that's probably the worst thing that's ever happened. But for the most part, when people do break them or whatever, they call me ahead of time and say, "Hey, look, this is what happened. I take full responsibility for it. I'll pay you whatever." But like I said, every now and again, you just get that terrible customer that just screams and yells at you. And
well, the reason why I asked is because it's funny because like my dad used to have this like homemade wooden trailer that like, I think it was like a boat trailer originally. And then he built like a wooden frame on it and everything, which was the wood that he used to build the trailer was probably enough to max out the load for the trailer. Oh, wow. You know what I mean? Like it was already over. So anyway, I remember when I first bought my house, it was like an old Victorian and we were gutting like the whole house because it was all like lath and plaster and everything. Mm-hmm. And I was like filling garbage bags on the second floor and I was throwing them out the window into the trailer. And every time a bag hit the trailer, it was like, dude, like it like hit the trailer so hard. So anyway, I threw like a ton of bags in it and I was driving it to the dump and the frame was rubbing on the tires so hard that it like carved the rubber right out of the tires and it like flames were coming off the tires and everything. I like basically destroyed my dad's trailer. And I was like, and I thought I was like, if people are renting trailers from you, they're probably beating the shit out of them because it's not their trailer. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, whatever, I'm renting this and whatever. But it was funny, like after like a year after that, my dad like put new tires on, fixed his trailer back up, and he was working here. And it was like, I think it was like Father's Day or something. I just like went to Home Depot and bought like a big ass, I think it was like, I don't know, like a $2,000 trailer. And I was like, here, Dad, like my one stipulation is that you fucking like burn this other trailer. Like don't sell it. Don't give it away. You have to burn it. And he did. He burned it in his backyard.
That's awesome.
Because it was a death trap. Like it literally was like, could have, anytime he drove out on the highway, he could have murdered people. Like there was like 2 times where the tailgate of it fell off and like skid across the highway. And I was like, this thing's going to kill somebody.
Yeah, that's my nightmare. When they go all out, like this weekend, every single one of them, actually 7 of the 9 were out. And when 2 or 3 are out, I'm not too nervous. But when I have 7 out, that's 7 different opportunities for shit to hit the fan. Mm-hmm. I get a little nervous.
So you're self-insured, or do you have insurance on these things, or how does that work?
When they're behind their vehicle, their insurance covers it. So when they come to me, I need proof of insurance, has to be current, of the vehicle that's towing, and I need proof of their driver's license. So they give me those, they leave a deposit, and I charge them the full amount of rental. Knock on wood, I haven't had too many insurance issues.
You need to sell them like the bonus policy, like when you go rent a car and they're like, hey, for $40 more a day.
So yeah, that is another option that I could do. But what I have going so far has worked. And I've been doing it for, I don't know, 7 years. Maybe.
So now my question is, does your trailer business help your screen printing business? Like, do you take profits from that? And if you need them for what you're doing, you can move stuff around?
Absolutely. So yeah, a lot of guys will come in here, and because I bring them into my same office, because I store all the trailers on the side of my building in a little gated little area. So I can run everything out of here, which is very nice. But they'll come in and we'll sit down to do trailer paperwork, and they look around and say, why are all these shirts around here? Like, are these just decorations? What's the deal? And I say, oh no, in the back we do screen printing, embroidery, stickers, banners, whatever. And they say, oh, I own a construction company, or I own this or that, whatever. And I try to convert it into a sale right there, or I put all their information in into like Printavo with what they need, their shirts they use, what their order size typically is. And then once they come back and drop the trailer off, I say, hey, let me know if you need shirts, give them a business card. And then I hit them back with an email, like maybe a week later.
You're like, hey, if you order your shirts from me, I'll give you 10% off on your trailer rental.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, it
So-
definitely helps.
When COVID happened and you said that the shirt business, like you had to adapt and you sold sanitizer and the shirt business went away. What happened to the trailer business? Was it still busy? I mean, were you diversified enough anyway that the trailer business carried you?
Yeah, that went through the roof.
I was going to say,
Yeah, last April was my best sales ever. Like I run it all through Square, the trailer business, and I can look at all the charts and see. And last April was like through the roof versus the previous April. And if you zoom all the way out and look at the last year or the last 2 years, 2020 was crazy.
well, it was all those DIYers. It was like why Lowe's and all those places went crazy because everyone was home and they were like, oh, let's do these home repairs or build a deck or whatever. And they would need a trailer to do that stuff. So,
so a lot of home improvement people, like small people would come, like just families would come pick up a trailer to pick up stuff from the hardware store. They were cleaning out their garage. So they needed a dump trailer because everyone was stuck at home and realized, oh, we could redo the kitchen or we could clean out the garage.
right.
And then everything else was closed as well, where a lot of the people that use them take them out to like the desert to go riding, off-roading. So they would just go out to the desert for a week, 5 days because they weren't working and no one was in school. So yeah, it was nuts. If I had probably double the amount of trailers, I could have rented 20 out at a time.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was super cool. And sometimes I would take the cash because a lot of people pay cash to the trailer business. And I'd take that cash and just dump it into the printing business with buying chemicals, equipment, or whatever. But my mom does all my books, and she said no.
And digitizing.
Yeah, she does my artwork, my digitizing, my taxes, everything.
Right.
And she said no, don't pay with cash, pay with a card, a check. That way there's record of it and you can write it off. So now when I get cash, I just put it in my pocket and don't use cash to buy anything anymore.
Buy candy
or buy lunch or whatever.
Right.
All right. So all the shops out there, you heard it here. Don't buy another press or anything like that. Buy a trailer and diversify. And in fact, Beau will give you his business plan.
Yeah. It's
especially if you're in Anaheim and you're a print shop down the road from him, get into the trailer business.
No, it's funny. I've had a lot of people, like even friends and just people will call me and they say, hey, I'm thinking about starting rent trailers. And I said, okay, good luck. It's not hard, but you got to deal with a lot of bullshit. And I've had friends that do it and try and they last maybe a month or 2, 3 months. And I see other guys like online that'll start and then they just don't keep doing it because it is most of the time it is a lot of work. And
the thing is it's the same thing in our industry right now. Well, not right now, but forever is, with us being open, like with Shirt Show and just me and Andy and like a ton of other people we know right now, like you could message Andy and be like, hey, I have a print question. And Andy's like, okay, this is how you do it. You know what I mean? Like the technical side of screen printing, you could learn on the internet. Like you could go on YouTube and there's a million people trying to make YouTube channels that are like, this is how you screen print. It's like the answers are there if you want it. Like you can go get them. The problem is that you don't have a successful business because you know the answer to how to print a t-shirt.
Yeah.
You have a successful business because it's your passion and it drives you to do those things. Like anybody and their brother could be like, I want to start a screen printing business, but they fade out in 2 months because they're bored of it. They don't have the drive. They think it has to stop at 3:00 every day, or 2 days of the week they decide to sleep in and not go to work at all. It takes a certain type of person to be a business owner because they have to live it every single day, like all day, every day. Or if something in the shop happens or something with any part of the business happens, you as the owner have to be the one to step up and do that job. You can't just be like, oh, fuck, I'm screwed. Like I don't have a person. You just have to suck it up and do it. So it's the same thing with like the trailer thing. People are like, oh, I see you making money selling trailers, but they don't know that behind the scenes you're hustling, trying to like get more trailers or, advertise to get trailers rented and everything else. They're just like, oh, if I buy a trailer, people are just going to show up here and do it.
No.
And it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And the reason it's so good is I still have people that have rented or started renting when I started the business and they still rent from me to this day. So that's another nice thing. It's a bunch of referral work and repeat customers. Like I have people that call me on my personal phone and say, hey, I need a trailer for this weekend or whatever. And I'm typically not open on the weekends. But for my good customers, I will come down here and rent them a trailer if need be or return. Like today, I'll probably have 3 guys drop off today just because I'm already down here. But it is one thing just go out and buy a trailer, or you go out and buy a printing press and say, oh, t-shirts are going to come and trailer rentals are going to come. But no, it's a lot of freaking work.
Well, I witnessed it firsthand, like here, like with the building I own, I have my shop that's on like kind of one side of it. And then the middle area, I used to rent out to an antique store. But before it was an antique store, this whole building, before I bought it, was like a hunting fishing store. And before that, it was the original Agway that like built the building. But the hunting store did really, really well for like years and years and years because the dude who owned it was passionate about hunting and fishing and everything else. Mm-hmm. Well, this was like the main place in our town that sold like hunting and fishing supplies. So when I bought the building and I was only going to occupy part of it, my mom and my stepdad were like, well, seems like a no-brainer to, if you can rent that store out to us, we're going to start a hunting fishing store because, you know, it did so well for so many years. And they had that mentality too of like, oh, let's just go buy all the stuff and we'll just sit here and we'll just wait for people to come here because obviously they did that before and it did terrible. Like nobody came here because people used to come here because it was Hap's place. Like he knew everything and he was super passionate about everything that had to do with hunting and fishing. I lived with my parents obviously forever and they never hunt or fished or did any of that stuff. They literally just saw the opportunity, just like you're saying, your buddies with the trailers of like, oh, people bought stuff from this guy. Let's just do the exact same thing. And it crashed and burned. Like they were here like a year and they were like, we can't be open anymore. Yeah. So I fully get it.
Yeah. I feel like you have to, like for me, I've grown up with trailers, with going to the lake and the river with a boat and just being around trailers, going off-roading, whatever. So I kind of know a lot about them, I guess you could say. And a lot of people that do rent, like I've said, or do a lot of the same stuff that I do. So I can build off that and have a good conversation. They come rent. And it's not just like they're going to a big company like a U-Haul or whatever and just talking to some Joe Schmo and don't have that personal relationship. Mm-hmm. Where here I try to build a personal relationship with them and talk to them about their trip. Where are you going? How was it? What can I do to make it better? Or whatever. And if it was just someone just to walk in and sit here and just wait, that's not going to happen. You need to do a little bit more work to make it actually work and be successful.
So what like skills, I guess, unique skills do you have in your business? Are you kind of just running the office and doing all that stuff and you have people printing, or are you running around doing everything?
So at first, when I first moved in here, I was doing everything: printing, quoting, invoicing, burning screens, meetings, everything. And it was probably the end of June. So I moved in here a little bit before March. Yeah, I guess a little before March. And in the middle of June, I started to pick back up. And I realized there's no way I can do everything. I can't print. I can't quote. I can't do proofing. I can't do it all. Otherwise, I'm going to be here for 20 hours a day, and that's not what I want to do. So I put an ad out on Craigslist for printers, and I figured, this is probably a good time to get business because a lot of shops are closed and people are out of work. So this guy called me, and it was like Thursday at 5:00, and I was just setting up a 5-color job, and it was probably my first 5-color job I set up on the auto. And I was like, oh, it's due Friday. Got to get it done. So he called me and he said, hey, I know how to print. Can I come by and you interview me, whatever? And I had probably half a dozen of those guys call and said, yeah, this is where I'm located. I'm here from this time to this time. Let me know. So I told this guy, I said, hey, I'll be here today till about 7 if you want to come. He said, okay, I'll be there in 15 minutes. And I said, bullshit. You're not going to show up. There's no way. So I was in the back printing and this guy walks in and he spoke pretty good English. We're better now. We can communicate a lot better now, but it was my first person I've ever really hired. So I told him, I said, okay, if you know how to print, there's a 5-color job on the press, go for it. And he said, can I take a minute just to look at the machine? Because he worked on Sportsman's, and I have a Diamondback. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, go for it. So he played around with the machine, got used to it, looked at the micros and everything. And on the Sportsman's, the micros are in front versus the Diamondbacks are on the side. So he played with that, got used to it. And I think he had the whole job registered, ready to go in probably 15, 30 minutes, where me, it'd probably take a little bit longer. But we printed the whole job. It was a 5-color back, 1-color front, printed it in probably 2 hours. And I was like, holy cow, this is exactly what I need. If he knows how to print, I can sit in the office, I can sell, I can burn screens, I can prep, I can do so much more.
It's got to be so awesome to have someone walk in that you hire and they automatically know how to do the job that you're fucking hiring them for. Like I have never had that, like ever.
Really?
I've never had somebody just walk in and be like, oh, I can run the gauntlet. And then they just get on it and they fucking print the whole job. Like that would rule so hard to have someone just walk in and be like, hey, take this stress off of my life, please. And then just like, they automatically know how to do it.
Yeah. So he's still with me today. He's been here for probably a year and almost a half. Yeah, probably a year and a half. And he's awesome. I would do anything for the dude. I mean, I take very good care of him when it's like for his year anniversary. He really loves to barbecue. So I went out, bought him his favorite beer and bought him a whole entire cooking set so he could barbecue and grill and have everything he could need. And to me, it was a $40.
To me, that sounded selfish though, because you just want good barbecue.
Yeah, no, but I mean, to me, it was a small expense of a $30 case of beer and a $40 thing off Amazon. And I think I printed out something that said like, congrats, 1 year, thank you, whatever.
Yeah.
So say it cost me $100, but the way he looks at it is, wow, this guy, my boss, really cares about me.
Right.
And I really do. And we follow each other on Facebook. And he posted on Facebook and was saying, oh, so happy, been here for a year. It's been great, blah, blah. And all these people are commenting like, congratulations, this is so cool. So for me to see that of him so happy and excited to get that makes me so happy and excited for him. And I know by taking care of him, he's going to show up. He's going to do what he's good at. And I don't have to really worry about him. And he's great. It's awesome.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm happy for you that you got that guy.
Yeah. And it was because, and the alternative of that is bringing in a guy that has been printing for 15 years, bringing in his ways of doing things when maybe I don't think that's the way it should be done. Like maybe bringing in bad habits or good habits.
Oh yeah.
I told him in the beginning, I said, hey, look, I need you to be 100% upfront with me. If you don't know how to do something, or if you have a question or anything, come to me. We'll talk about it. We'll figure it out. We'll get it done. I said, I don't want you to run a whole job of 100 shirts or whatever it may be, and it be printed backwards or in the wrong location or whatever. So we're very good with communicating, and he comes to me with any questions. And I said, if you have a better way of doing it, show me. And if it is a better way, we'll do it. And
right, for sure.
9 times out of 10, he's got a better way.
Now, my question for you, and this is something that I'm running into as well, is I got comfortable with the fact that I had 2 really good printers on my presses that knew exactly how we wanted to run things, quality wise, good to go. And I was happy with the fact of running single operator on both press, but then anything over a certain amount of pieces, they grabbed some from the shop to pull and all this other stuff. But there was mainly the 2 guys that were knowledgeable, like fully knowledgeable about running the press all day long. And then you run into the problem where one of them decides to quit. And then you're like, fuck, I have 1 good printer and I have to hire someone else. And then I have to train them and I have to wait months or weeks or whatever to get somebody okay enough to print a 1 color or 2 color or whatever. And now since that happened, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have automatically, no matter what, insurance policy, 2 people on each press that are cross-trained with each other, know how to run the press. So if one's sick, the other guy hops on and can print by himself all day. Or if someone quits, I have that other guy or girl that can run the press. So my question is, you're saying, holy shit, I got this guy that's awesome at printing. Do you have someone shadowing him that can learn and soak up everything that he knows, so that if, God forbid, something happens to him or he decides to quit or anything, you have a backup person?
Yeah. So probably like 4 months ago, we started getting really busy, and it was a mix of manual work and auto work. And my one guy, so during COVID, his other shop that he was at was only working maybe 2-3 days a week. And then he'd come to me when he wasn't working there. And then he eventually quit because other business, I think, either went out of business or just was treating him bad. I can't remember what. And he started working here full time for maybe a month or two. And then it slowed down. And I said, I don't have enough work to keep you busy 5 days a week for 40 hours. He wants like 40 to 60 hours a week, which is a lot. So now we're back to him coming in at 3 every day, and he'll print from like 3 to 8 o'clock every day. And then I have another guy, when we were really busy, he told me he had a friend that knew how to print. I said, okay, well, bring him in. Let's see what he can do. And he only prints manual. He's a great manual printer. He can print up to 6 colors on the manual. He's great, knows what he's doing. So when they're both here and the auto's running, my manual guy will go over there, and my auto guy teaches him on the auto at the same time. So starting to teach my manual guy in case my other guys, like you said, gets sick or doesn't show up or whatever. And I can go out there on the auto and run it. He's definitely a better printer than I am.
Right. But the problem is that you don't want to have to do that.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's the problem I'm in right now is like, I can go out there and run the press, but like I also have a day's worth of shit to do on my normal, whatever I do. You know what I mean? So right now, me and Brian are going out there and we're tag teaming. Like he's setting jobs up and I'm going out and I'm running it for the day.
Yeah.
And we both are kind of like cutting into our own time. So like Brian has been working late or doing whatever he can do to catch up in the art department. And then I'm doing emails after dinner till 1 a.m. when normally I'm trying to go to bed at like 10:30.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So that's my problem is I wasn't thinking enough ahead to have more trained people on press because I'm always trying to keep things lean. And
and when I
don't know if it's I mean, maybe it's a mix, Dylan, of you trying to keep things lean and also just the inability to hire because, you know, like you said, you've got in your market anyway, your labor market, you only have so much, like your pool is only so big. You have none. And that, I think that's really tough because it is a combination of things because you want to, you know, you want to hire somebody and you want to have that backup person, but that backup person costs, you know, and so.
That's my problem. And like, I had this discussion with Brian and we were talking about, because normally we wouldn't have these extra people, but I'm like, you know what, to me, it's like paying an insurance bill at this point. Like, you know, you look at these employees of like, fuck, I might not have enough work for them all year because in the slow months, you're going to have extra people and you're like, all right, well, we'll find something for them to do. But I'm almost willing to pay the money for them to stand around for a month and a half on slow months.
Definitely worth it.
Because
I mean, we do the same
the rest
thing
of the
here.
year.
And listening to you and listening to your scenario, it almost would be best, you know, if it is that you are having a single press operator, if that's how you run, and then for the larger jobs, you have an assistant, I guess, like an offloader, maybe you would just need one because maybe one press runs smaller jobs. We do that sometimes. We do that sometimes here where one press is running under 50 pieces, right? And then the other press will run, let's say we're missing somebody, that's how we run it. We have enough people to run in teams all the time. But if somebody's out or sick, well, then we'll just shift it to one press runs small jobs, like fixes, like you were saying earlier, if we have a 2-shirt fix or something, well, that person will run. They don't need a dryer catcher. They don't need a press assistant. Now they can move way faster if they had a press assistant because they can help tear out and set up and all that kind of stuff. But if that person's gone, that's what we do. So the very least anyway, you get one person and that they sort of float between the two presses.
Yeah, I have that now, but like I said, is I'm also in a growing phase too, where I'm trying to get another auto. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 2 on the Sportsman and 2 on a Gauntlet, and then I'll have one guy on the new auto so that, you know, he can do tags and sleeves and pockets and one color, two color prints. That way the other two presses are printing more complicated jobs all day long. The problem is I have so many complicated jobs that when something comes along that's like, oh, this job has 4 locations and it's got, an 8 color front, but it's got one color back, one color sleeve, whatever, then they can print the 8 color front on the gauntlet. And then the rest of it can be done on the other auto by the one single operator guy. And then the gauntlet can go right back into doing another 10, 12 color print or whatever. So that's kind of my plan right now, is to get enough people to where I have insurance policies and I have more than enough staff to where I can focus on what I'm good at. So
do you have a catcher at the end of the dryer?
Yeah.
All the time?
Mm-hmm.
That's
one or two.
Yeah. So that's my biggest problem right now is if we get a big job in and it's me and my guy on the press or both my guys on the press and then me catch, I can't always be out there catching, whether it's email work or meetings or whatever. And it's a pain in the ass when you have 200 shirts fall in the box and you have to go back and pick them out of the box and separate them by size.
I feel like that's
no
something.
good.
I feel like that's something that you should just do. Like you should get somebody that's willing to work to just catch shirts all day long, because if it's a front and a back, when the printer's done printing, he can automatically have them all ready, flat and ready to go for the back. And it's quality control too. Like they're looking and being like, oh, there's a pinhole here, or, hey, when it's coming through the dryer, it's doing this, or, anything, like just getting stuff unboxed and staged. So if you're doing something that's a pallet worth of boxes and you can only do 2 boxes worth on your cart, when your cart's done, they automatically have 2 more boxes worth of shirts carted and ready to go for you to continue. So the more you're stopping and everything like that, you got to think throughout your day. Like if you guys are printing a job and you have to go over yourself and lay out all those shirts for the thing, that downtime on press or that time of you doing that is well worth paying somebody, a couple bucks over minimum wage or whatever to come in and just pull shirts off the dryer.
Yeah. And I do have that. I have a friend that'll come in and do it when he's not in school. And then my brother will actually come in when we're busy and they'll just catch all day long.
When we were smaller, that's what we did in the summer is we just had like high school kids that wanted like after school job.
Yep.
So, we would do the same thing. We would print a whole job and we'd have nobody at the end of the dryer and we would let them fall into the bucket or whatever. And then we'd put them unfolded in the box and set them aside. And then when they got here at whatever 2:00, the first thing they did is they folded all those shirts that we printed all morning.
Weren't they a wrinkled mess though?
I mean, yes, they're not like wadded, but they're like kind of folded in half, like in the box on top of each other. But this was years ago. You know what I mean? This is what you did when you
but
didn't have the option.
That was one of the spots though that I hired pretty quickly early on because, and I think a lot of shops skip it because, like you just said, it's an expense. You think it is anyway, but really it's not, because sort of how you described it, you're never waiting on a cart of shirts. Like they're stacking while the press is setting up, that person's carting the shirts and getting them ready. So they're on deck, ready to go. And then when, as they're printing, they don't fall into a box, they're perfectly folded. Or if you have fronts and backs, they're ready to go on a cart. You're never waiting for a cart of shirts. And then also if you run into a spot where they are like, let's say you're setting up like a 5 color or an 8 color, it takes a little bit longer and they're waiting on the press and they're just standing there. There's no really just standing there. They can check in, they can count a job in or something. And so it always worked that the quality control, who was ever at quality control, if we ever had shipping and receiving open up, they moved right to shipping and receiving because they already knew all of the shirt styles. They knew they knew a lot about screen printing, and I would always move them to shipping and receiving. And so, and they had already cross-trained into it. That's something they'd already done. So it's like a natural move, and that it also comes with better pay. So they were always willing to do it. So Dylan, did we get any questions? I don't think we did. We got one. I think it's just a statement though.
It was last minute.
Hold on. Oh no, we did. I don't. If I knew how to work,
we have to make this a slightly shorter podcast than normal because it's Andy's anniversary.
Congrats!
Yay,
hey, thanks,
Andy!
How many
Made it
years?
another year.
Don't ask me complicated questions like that. How many years?
Oh, Joanne's gonna hear this shit. You're fucked now.
So the question is,
You skipped
He
right
avoids
over.
the question.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. Wow.
I don't understand.
What's the question?
It's Gorilla Joe. He says clockwise or counterclockwise presses spinning, manual or auto.
It depends on your layout and your dryer situation.
Yeah, so we have both. So on the right side of the dryer, our press spins counterclockwise because we want to offload right to the dryer, and then the opposite on the other side. I think he means maybe if you're just going to set it up, what's your preferred spin?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm right-handed, I'd probably want to spin.
It's also for some people, it depends on where they like their cart for loading.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of weird ways to load. Like if you look, there's videos online of like different ways that people load and unload. Like I think we talked about this before. Like some people, even if it's a front print, like to have it face down so that you can like pull it off differently.
That's how my guy loads, and I load the other way with the I load reverse.
I like the cart on my right, and I do it like face up, but I have the open end of the shirt right there to my right. So I'm just reaching over, grabbing the seams, coming back over to me, loading it on, taking it off. Andy, what's your preferred?
I guess I'd be preferred on the right, although we have to be ambidextrous here because depending on what press you're on, it's, it could be
so
on the
you're
left or
hopping
the right.
from press to press depending.
Right. But if I had to choose, I'd choose loading to the right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
I have it on the left, just because that's the only way we can with our layout. Put the box or the shirts to the left, and that's what I always found works best for me. I can't do it on the right. I don't know why, it just doesn't work. But
But as far as clockwise versus counterclockwise, I think clockwise for me, I like better.
That's what we are, clockwise.
Andy?
I'm thinking clockwise, although for me, it doesn't matter so much. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm just so used to doing it both ways, I guess, because it's whatever press I'm on. So manually, though, I would definitely spin. I would set it up and I would spin like this. So I would spin clockwise.
Clockwise, yeah, I would do clockwise too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you have any questions for us, Beau?
I do. Let's see. So I guess what I would know is for someone in my position, like tips and let's see. So what would you do if you were in my shoes, and different things you would do to avoid like different pitfalls in you growing? Like what did you learn along the way that you could relay back to me so I don't necessarily have to go through those problems?
So you want to hear what horrible decisions we made so that you won't make those decisions.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Well, my biggest regret in business was getting a business partner. That's number one for me, for sure. So that's why when you said girlfriend, my butthole tightened up really hard.
Yep.
Two would be to not do my research on buying used equipment. That's why I only buy brand new now, is because I bought way too much used equipment that was beat to hell. And I spent more time fixing than I did actually working on.
Makes sense.
What else would I say? Buy as much as possible. Well, this works for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but buy as much as possible with cash when you have it. Not actual cash, but like your own money, not borrowing everything.
Yeah.
To me, that's been huge. And, owning my own building was a huge plus. But that I fell into. Like, I didn't plan that at all. I don't want to act smart. I just had an opportunity to buy my building, and it was the best thing I ever did. So if you have the opportunity to buy a building early that's a shithole that you can fix up slowly, I would definitely say to do that. And then take your profits and buy more equipment and grow when you can, not just jump into a bunch of shit and then screw yourself over. Those would be my pitfall tips is to just go at your own pace and own your own shit.
Got it.
Andy?
My advice would be to go ahead and step into all those pitfalls.
Yeah.
Because that's what I did, and that's how I learned, and that's how I, through mistakes, I learned. And I think that, yeah, there's some general ones that you could throw out there, like Dylan's. That was good advice, but I think that if you, unless you just do it on your own, because sort of like if I were to give advice on how I did this 10 years ago, it maybe wouldn't even apply now. Maybe some stay the same, but some of it wouldn't, And so I love the fact that I made mistakes, and that's what made me better. One of the worst things I did, though, to give you one, so maybe you won't make it, is that finance some stuff on credit cards. I did that early on. And the only reason why I'm mentioning that one is I didn't know that affected your credit score. I was oblivious to the fact that if you max out a credit card, well, that ratio gets messed up, and then your credit score is crummy. And so don't do that unless you have no other option. Then I would say, dude, do that, because then you could get whatever piece of equipment you needed or whatever it is that allowed you to grow your business. And so I think that it's the hardest thing, starting a business. I don't know if there's anything harder, and then making it past 5 years, And I'm reading a book right now, just started it, Clockwork, and it's hopefully going to help me get through to this next phase, because I've plateaued in a lot of our processes here, and I am stuck fixing things like you guys were talking about earlier. I'm the one that helps out when things go wrong, and
You're the fixer.
I'm the fixer, and it seems like, well, and there's other fixers here too, but it seems like what this book talks about anyway is that if all you're doing is you're fixing things during the day, well, that's rewarding, and you get a rewarding feeling from it. Like, hey, we survived another day. But that's the wrong way to look at it, actually, because it's in the end, what will you have to show for it? And I need to figure out a better way through efficiency, according to Mike. That's what he says, to get through some of these issues that we have here. And that's one of the reasons why Ryan came last week to help start that process, because it's a complicated one, and it's a hard one to take on all by yourself, especially with me solving problems during the day and fixing things through the day. I'm not able to work on the macro, the bigger stuff, and so it'll be baby steps. And, but I hope I can get there in maybe a year or so. So yeah, that's my advice. Sorry.
It was I have two more things after listening to Andy. One boring thing is I learned not necessarily the hard way, but I learned that getting somebody to manage those things that you think are, like we said, like catcher at the end of the dryer, or a assistant to help with emails, or more customer service people, like you think it's not necessary, or you don't have the money for those things, but they by far pay themselves off with the fact that you now, as the visionary and the one that's motivated the most out of the company, have the time and availability to work on the business instead of working in the business. You can go after those dream customers or do the marketing you want to do or whatever. And you doing that creates so much more work for the people that work for you to, grow your company and do all that stuff. So that was my one. And two, you were talking about credit cards and like getting a ton of credit card debt. It reminded me of, I don't remember how old I was. I was younger, but there was a buddy's house all through high school that we always went to and partied at on weekends. And like, it was the same thing, like go to his house after work at night with, drinks and snacks and food and whatever. And they would just drink and get high, and they would have we'd have a bonfire, and we would always just sit out there and like play guitar or whatever, and just sit around bonfire and just be kids and fuck around. Well, the one dude's house that was at had same thing. Like he had a bunch of credit card debt or whatever, and was kind of, we were talking and joking around the fire that what he should do is he should just file for bankruptcy because he couldn't pay the credit card debt or whatever. But we were saying, well, the best thing you could do if you're going to file, you're going to file for bankruptcy, is to buy a bunch of shit that the bank can't take back. We were like, you know what we should do is just have a fucking rager and like go to the grocery store and buy those like meat platters, you know, like the huge fucking, like it's something you would get for like a funeral or like a big party or something. We're like, we should just buy a bunch of food and like stuff that like the bank couldn't possibly take. So it was like the very next weekend he did that. He went and got like a ton of like meat platters and like snacks and like all this shit. And then like a week later he filed for bankruptcy. So he just added to that credit card debt because he knew he was going to fucking do it. And it was just, it just reminded me of that. Like, just fuck it. Like, whatever.
That's funny.
So do you have any
awesomely irresponsible? I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if I'll do that, but
fucking YOLO, Andy. Come on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So what's your next question?
Is it smarter to do smaller jobs versus the big 1,000-piece jobs? Like, where do you guys find like your sweet spot is?
Great question.
Yeah, it was a really good one. Yeah.
There's some jobs that you'll print, I don't know, 2,000 shirts, and it's cool because you got all these boxes everywhere and shirts everywhere, and it looks cool.
That's an ego thing.
Yeah, and then there's those other jobs where it's 200 shirts, and
you make way more money on those 200 shirts than you do on the 5,000 shirts.
Exactly. So that's
if
your sweet spot.
If I think you should add if you are fast at setup teardown. I mean, if you have a trial lock system or registration system, you know, because maybe it's not the case if you're taking forever, you know, setting up jobs. But
if you have pre-press and you have a registration system and all that stuff dialed, like ideally, in our scenario anyway, it's better to do the 100 to 500 to 1,000 piece jobs because of the markup and everything else on those things. Yeah, we do a lot of like the 5 to 10,000 piece jobs, which we do make a good amount of money on. But you got to think about, okay, if I'm doing a 5,000 piece job and it's going to take me whatever it takes, say it takes you 2-3 days to do the whole job on one press. How many of those 100 to 200, 500 piece jobs could you have gotten done in that time? And how much money did you make on those jobs versus what the profit you made on that one job that ate up your press for 3 days? Plus it's the logistics of like, yeah, you have a 5,000 piece order, but it's going to be 5 skids. Can you move those 5 skids around? Are you paying 1, 2, 3 people to pull the boxes, to pull the shirts out and fold them back up and rebox them and move them around if it's multiple locations and everything else? And how is that order shipping and everything else? So, I mean, there's pros and cons to both for sure, but our sweet spot here is, like I said, like the 500 piece order or something where, you get it up, you print it, you're done in an hour and a half, 2 hours, take it down, set up the next one.
Yeah, we had my first big job here was like 2,300 shirts a couple months ago for a school. And the check was nice. It was cool and all, but it was, I think, 2 pallets of shirts, and it took forever to count them all in. It took us probably a day, maybe a day and a half to get the whole entire thing done. And then it was repackage it into all the boxes, label each box, what's in the box. And then it's a high school right up the street, so I just delivered it. And it filled up my whole entire truck. I literally had no room in it except me to drive. Couldn't see out of anything. And looking back on it, the check size was great. It was cool. But the amount of work and effort that went into it was, I don't know if it was worth it.
That's what I think. If like you're set up for that, you know what I mean? Like if you logistically have the people and the space to do those kinds of jobs, yeah, it makes sense. Like you could do that for sure. Yeah. Like we will take a large order, like a really large order if we want to. It's just not our every single day thing. Like you're not doing a 5,000, 10,000 piece job, going right back into another 5,000, 10,000 piece job. Like it's not how it happened. Well, especially here, like I said, we're doing the tons of, 25 to 1,000 piece jobs every single day. And then maybe like once a week or once every 2 weeks, we're doing that 3,000 piece job or a 5,000 piece job or whatever. So they're sprinkled in, but it's not all the time.
Got it.
For us, I decided a while back, I don't know how many years ago, to not discount after 1,000. So like our pricing, I've seen a lot of pricing matrices.
Matrices?
Yeah. Is that what it would be? Probably. That, they go and they discount past 1,000, like to 2,500 and then to 5,000. And it's even cheaper. And I was like, well, wait a second, it's not any cheaper for us for 1,000, between 1,000 and 2,000 and 5,000. It's the same, really. And so why would I discount it? And in fact, it should be harder. It should go like this. Price should decrease and then it should start going up again, because kind of like what Dylan said, it's just getting all the pallets and counting in. Yeah, it's tough. And so the liability, if something goes wrong. And so I stopped discounting after 1,000. And so if I get a shirt order for 2,000, I'm happy with that, because I haven't priced myself into a spot where, it would be cheaper for me to do, a 500 piece order, for example. And so, and if the person thinks or says that, well, I can get it cheaper somewhere else because I get quantity discounts over there, well, then they can go over there, but that's just not how we're going to do it. And so, that's my answer. The sweet spot though, it probably still is kind of like what Dylan said, a couple hundred shirts, just as far as what it's more about though, like just, what you like to print and what printers like to print. We had we're in peak season right now. And so we're having, monster weeks. We're printing a lot of shirts, and it takes a toll. And so I think printers would rather print, 200 piece orders, set up, tear down, get that break in between. If you're just constantly loading for hours.
The break is what people like, especially printers. Like me and Andy could talk as business owners of being like, yeah, I like a big check when it's a big order. But if you go talk to the actual printer, they're like, fuck this. I don't want to do the same. I don't want to be looking at the same print all day long. And I don't want to be constantly loading. I want to be load. Okay, tear down, set up something new and go again. But like you said, there is a difference too, though. Like if you get an order that's like 3,000-4,000 pieces and it's like a simple job, it's like white shirts, black ink. It's like, oh, fuck yeah, we can pound through this. Like we can do, 3-4 second dwell and just crank these shirts out. That's fun and that rules, and it's good money because it's easy and quick. But a lot of those jobs seem to be like, we have a job right now that we just got that I think we're doing this week. That's like 4,000 long sleeves, and it's front, back, and both sleeves. And it's like, you have to move those shirts around 4 times. And it's like, that sucks. Like you look at those and you're like, oh, do you really need the sleeve prints? You sure we can't put those logos on the back? And you don't think about how much of a time suck it is.
Wow.
I was just talking to some people here just last week about how because we just changed our pricing a little bit, and we have second location pricing, and we used to use that as for sleeves too, but really it needs to be way more, because sleeves slow you down.
I do that too.
You do what?
I add like another price on top if it's a sleeve, or like a location that we have to change a pallet out for. Like if it's a youth pallet, we have to change it out for, like those go up even higher because
we have a location, like a setup fee, but I mean like a per piece print.
Right. I'm just saying that sleeves. We add that to it like automatically on our pricing chart if it's a sleeve print, because
it is a sleeve print.
Right.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, we do the same. We charge the print price and then an additional anywhere from 30 to 50 cents, depending on what it is. But yeah, all sleeves, fleece, everything that's a nightmare to move, hoodies, gets an extra on top of whatever it's getting printed at. Because when hoodies come full, it's a nightmare.
And I had somebody, I know real quick, I have to look this up. Someone sent me, I'm sorry, I don't have time to look up who it was, but he showed me a video of how to load a cart to print independent hoodies without unfolding every single one. And it ruled. You know, like if you get independent, they're all individually folded. And like what we've always been doing at shipping and receiving is they're taking them out of the box and like laying them all so they're flat folded so that when the printer grabs it, they can grab like, you know, chunks of 5 or whatever and lay them on the cart. But he showed me that you can just get them all individually folded, throw them on the cart, and then just grab them by the bottom. And when you grab that individual one from the bottom, you're just loading it on anyway. So they just go right down through the stack without
That's cool.
doing them the other way. So yeah, let's do quick takes because Andy's got 12 minutes.
You got date night?
Yeah,
I do. Yeah. So Dylan, you got him? Pull him up.
You want me to start him off?
Yeah, do it.
What's one thing you need every morning?
Cup of coffee.
Oh, going with the coffee one.
Yeah.
It's a good man.
Yeah.
What show are you currently obsessed with?
I wouldn't say obsessed with, but right now I'm watching on Netflix. It's called Lucifer. And then there's that other show that's like very, very popular. I can't think of the name. It's
the one we were just talking about earlier.
Like
the game show one.
Yeah. That one I just started.
I mean, Squid
Game.
Squid Games. Yes. Super weird, but very interesting.
That's funny. Neither of us have watched it yet.
No.
We were talking about how popular it was.
Yeah. But my other go-to is The Office. I know you don't like The Office.
Yes.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I can do it. So I feel you.
Beach trip or mountain trip? Andy, you changed these up.
I did. I thought, you know what? Let's have some fresh questions. Some
right.
same,
I'm liking
some
it.
same.
I'm liking it.
Cool.
I'm much more of a beach person. I just drove back from the mountains today, but yeah, I would rather the beach over the mountains all day.
I just don't like going in the water. So beach trip
just
for
go
me
to the
is
beach.
just sitting on the beach. But I'm also a giant pasty white guy. So sitting on the beach is just like you're asking to just be burned. So I don't know. Mountains probably for me.
Yeah.
Andy, you got next one. Sorry. I almost did the next one for you.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Not overthink things. Go
Buy
for
more
it.
trailers.
Buy more trailers. At the end, and not overthink shirt jobs. At the end of the day, it's just art and it's a fun thing.
It's just a t-shirt.
It's just a t-shirt, and if you mess it up, you can go buy another one. But yeah.
Okay. What's your go-to snack?
Right now, they sell this thing at the grocery store, and they're called Dots pretzels. I don't know if they sell them by you guys, but they're very addicting. I could probably.
Are they like the? Isn't there like a movie theater candy called Dots?
Yeah. It's not that. I don't think. Could be the same brand.
But they're just adding a pretzel.
It's just a pretzel, and they're all seasoned. One's like a barbecue, one's a spicy barbecue, one's a honey mustard, and they have an original, but they're very addicting.
Not bad.
Yeah. And when he said that, I was thinking the same thing, like pretzels,
Like the
but
Dots
gummy bear
candy.
looking pretzels or something. Yeah.
They're just pretzels.
Do you prefer a night in or a night out?
Night out.
What do you do if you go out? Like, what's your ideal date night?
So I have a good core group of friends from high school that I still hang out with to this day. That's who I was just with this weekend. And whether it's go out, we probably hang out once or twice a week. And whether it's going out to dinner to the bars or going on, I was doing fun things at night. But an ideal night would be, I don't know, go to dinner and maybe go out for a drink after and just enjoy the weekend.
Go downtown. There you go.
Exactly.
Okay, Andrew.
All right. Well, what's for dinner tonight?
I knew this question was coming. I have no idea, but my brother's home waiting for me, and he's probably going to watch Sunday Night Football. So we'll probably order something. There's a good Italian place down the street that we always order. So very well could be pasta tonight.
Pasta. Take out pasta?
It's good.
Okay.
It is.
I feel like anytime I order takeout pasta, it's like in the container, it sweats so much that it's just like soggy mess by the time I get it. But I also have to drive a half an hour for it and then drive a half hour home.
That's your problem.
That's my problem.
This is half mile down the street, and I call
so you
it.
Run there, get it, run home, open it immediately, and it's fresh pasta.
Yeah, and it's hot as heck, and it's ready to go.
Yeah, that's perfect. All right, that sounds way better.
Mm-hmm.
Andy, what are explain it? You're going Olive Garden?
Yeah, going to Olive Garden for some that unlimited salad and those breadsticks. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's a special night. So
something special for your special gal. Going
to a special place.
Very cool.
Dylan, how about you? What are you having?
You know what? I was working on my computer at home before I came here, and I thought it was going to be my dinner, and it was leftover Chinese from the refrigerator, and it wasn't that great. And I'm going to have to make food when I get home, but it's probably going to be like eggs and toast because that's my go-to.
Breakfast for dinner. Yeah.
Well, it's so odd. Like, I love eggs. Like I eat eggs all the time. So like just making like 2 over easy eggs in the pan and putting them on toast. And I have to put my eggs on toast. Like I can't have eggs without toast. So taking an egg, putting it on toast, eating it off the toast is okay with me.
You can't go wrong with breakfast for dinner. That's always a good thing. So.
Except for Dylan can, because he probably puts it on Wonder Bread or something.
Oh, white bread all the way, dude.
That's gross.
Some good brown bread. No, white bread is too boring.
Nope. Plain ass white bread all day long.
Well, Beau, great talking to you. Thanks for chatting with us today. And
thanks for getting your mom's artwork and putting it behind you.
I was just going to say the same thing because I looked at it the whole time.
If you like her artwork, go on my Instagram page. I just tagged her and go buy her art.
Hell yeah. Mom's Backyard Art is what her page is called, right?
No, it's I'll tell her to change it.
Mom's Badass Backyard Art.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yep. Awesome.
All right, dude. Well, it was great meeting you. Thanks for being on, and go enjoy your hot Italian.
Well, dude, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, dude.